Why are there two future tense endings? In this video, I'm going to explain why Latin has two separate endings for the future tense. Hi everyone, and welcome back to bambasbat. Don't forget that for a complete list of all verb endings, you can download my free reference guide to Latin verbs from the link in the description below. Now, you might be thinking, why on earth do my lists all have two sets of examples for the verbs in the future tense? Or maybe, why aren't all future tense endings just the bovis bit? This is because of an important part of grammar called conjugations. Many Romance languages have conjugations, like French with the er, ir, re verbs, or Spanish with ar, er, and ir verbs, and they come from Latin. So Latin has conjugations as well, and a conjugation is just a group of verbs that behave in a similar way. Now Latin has four, and sometimes people say there's also a mixed conjugation, but just ignore that for now. For the purpose of this, Latin has four conjugations. The conjugations don't really matter all that much to begin with, but when you start changing tenses, it's really helpful to know which conjugation each verb is in. This is because the thematic vowel for conjugations is different, and conjugations also affect how verb stems change in the perfect and pluperfect tenses. However, to get back to the gist of this video, Latin has two future tense endings, and the difference is just which conjugation the verb is in. So let's have a look at some examples. My first conjugation verb is porto, portare, portavi, portatus. As a little side note, I like to encourage people to learn the principal parts of verbs as early as possible. They're so useful for figuring out conjugations and stem changes. It might seem like a lot of work to start with, but it gets easier the more you practice, and you really will see a huge improvement very quickly. But my first conjugation verb, in the future tense, goes portabo, portabis, portabit, portabimus, portabitis, portabunt. And the bit that's in bold is the future ending. So bo, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, bunt. These are the endings most people know really well and can recite, whenever they're asked what the future tense is. The second conjugation is the same. So moneo, monere, monui, monitus. In the future tense, this is monebo, monebis, monebit, monebimus, monebitis, monebunt. However, this is where it all changes. So if we look at my third conjugation example, I'm using traho, trahere, traxi, tractus. This goes to traham, trahes, trahet, trahemos, trahetis, trahent. So that's very different from the first and second conjugations. It's the same for my fourth conjugation, audiam, audies, audiet, audiemos, audietis, audient. Now these are the endings that most people that I teach struggle with. They often mistake them for present tense verbs or make errors in their translation. And this is why it's really important to remember this mnemonic that I have found that's really useful. First and second, future be. Third and fourth, always e. Now what that means is that the first and second conjugations use the bo, bis, bit, bovis bit endings. The third and fourth conjugations, however, use the am, es, et endings. Now you have to remember that the first person, so the first person singular, the I endings for the third and fourth conjugation, use that am rather than the em. But other than that, this mnemonic really, really helps. Now, read it aloud, recite it to yourself over and over until you're sick of it. It will really help you to remember how the different conjugations affect the ending for the future tenses. So that's why there are two sets of future tense endings in Latin. The third and fourth are really important. Don't let people tell you can just get away with knowing bo, bis, bix. It's a really common error that I see. In the purposes of translation, they're exactly the same. It's just why we have the two different ones. So I hope that's answered your question. Don't forget that you can download the complete guide to Latin verbs from the link in the description below. I do advise you to go and download that if you can. It will really help. You'll see a really big difference in your Latin translations and your recognition of Latin verbs. If you get that and use that, have it next to you while you translate. So I hope you found this video really useful, and I'll see you next time on bambasbat.